again with the Elite State of Mind podcast. Just how you doing today?
Well, great, man. How are you?
I am doing well, doing amazing. Family, make sure you guys go ahead and like, share, follow, and subscribe to our YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram page. Also, give us a follow on Applepodcast and Spotify if that's where you listen to your favorite podcast at. Again, family, our goal is always to listen, learn, and grow. Today, what we're going to get into is conflict. Whether it be internal, external, a few different types of conflict.
Yes.
And then I believe, a very important step that we all skip in the end of this conflict problem. So just, when you decided, man, you wanted to bring this to the family and talk about it.
Yeah.
What made the need to discuss conflict?
Well, I think many times we don't know how to navigate conflict.
That's true.
We don't understand, the many tiers of conflict and also the different types that come along. And so I think if we open this particular discussion, then we're going to begin to just, hey, we're going to lay a good foundation, a really good foundation to allow us to navigate it in a better way. Because conflict, it happens on a daily basis. Right. I don't think we recognize that.
I think so often, when somebody hears the word conflict, it carries a negative connotation.
Right.
But it's necessary in many things, whether you're making a choice to go here or go there. Should you go, should you stay at home? And it's really just, to me, a way to bring, get to a decision, a conclusion of sorts for, any issue or things that may arise, in a person's life or in business, relationships, so when you're dealing with, some of these different types of conflict, one, you kind of got to understand what sort of energy do I need, to be in to match it, because so often we always want to go to war when it's conflict. And that's not always the case.
No, it's not.
Sometimes you just need to be able to bring about, peaceful resolve to that. And you can't really do that if you go from 0 to 100 as soon as an issue arises, whether that be internal or external.
Right.
Because you can't just start, fighting, with yourself all the time when something rises up. And you can't always fight with everybody,
right?
When something rises up, because there's so many things that you can learn through, like you said, the navigation of, of this thing. But I think, why we don't have a good foundation in dealing with it is because we don't move from, the way we deal with conflict resolution as children. So we continue to, like my son right now, if he is, hungry, he'll cry.
Yeah.
But now what the brother does is when he needs a diaper change, he'll reach into the diaper box. He'll start rubbing his diaper. Hey, player.
Yeah, it's changed.
He's trying to bring, a peaceful.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, I understand. Like, you've been attentive to my need in this. So for us to have a peaceful resolve, I'm going to bring you some things that I know go along with the resolution of this dirty diaper.
It's an active way to increase communication. Right? As his awareness has increased, then his ability and desire to communicate at a higher level also causes him to take those actions.
Very true. Very, very true. And, I don't know why sometimes we don't, maybe we're unable to never grow from that place. Or maybe we just fought against it our whole life to never, move from the hollering, which then turns into the cussing and the fighting and the lashing out. Whether it's, again, with yourself or with another individual in dealing with, your conflict. What are the different types of conflict that may arise in a person's life?
Oh, man, I think, okay, so we took a few notes here, so we're going to take a look. So the main three types of conflict, a task conflict, relationship conflict, and value conflict.
What value conflict? Is this a conflict of the values I place on things, or is it me, needing to assess value on myself?
See, and therein lies the beginning of the issue, right? So like you said earlier, hey, my conflict is both internal and external, so we take a look at the internal conflict first. You know how we do, we're always looking at ourselves first before we look to the outside. So the first order of business is to determine what your values are as an individual.
You know, that's because I think, you know, we do that from, you know, the time that we are born. We begin to, you know, place value on ourselves. But then sometimes we're not attentive when that value changes. You know, whether it's, you know, again, I placed, you know, a certain level of value with how I look, with how I feel, with my health. And then I don't place a certain level of value on the relationships that I have, you know, from friendships to, you know, whether they be intimate relationships. And then I'm always in a constant state of flux or fighting with myself because I've compromised my value to appease another, bringing about this issue of conflict. That's dangerous.
It's extremely dangerous because the first order of business is to determine what you value. Like, what is the most important to you? Not to what it was to your parents, not to what it was to your grandparents, not what it is, you know, to your brother, to the friends, whatever, but figuring out exactly, you know, what it is that you hold in high esteem. So, understanding that you yourself have value. And there are a lot of men that really don't understand that.
True.
Because we live, unfortunately, in a society now that is saying that, you know, everything about masculinity is toxic.
Right.
Everything about it. And that's a lie.
Very true.
Because how can what the Creator made and orchestrated you as a human deem to be toxic?
You can't. Again, there's been a misappropriation of the meaning of words, and there is abuse.
Yes.
Which, again, as we've talked about before, you know, whether it's physical, mental, spiritual, you know, abuse. Yes, those things are toxic.
Yes,
but those aren't gender specific.
Right.
Role. But somebody acting as a man or as a woman, that to me is not toxic.
It's not toxic.
You know, because, you know, somebody is in their manhood. You know, I was listening to videos today that might be super competitive. If they're doing it in a way that is to make themselves and then others around them better,
it's good.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm, you know, doing it in a way and my competitiveness leads me to, you know, being underhanded, nefarious, you know, a ne'er-do-well of sorts, then there's something wrong about that.
Yeah.
And somebody needs to, you know, bring that to me, and then hopefully get me on a better track.
Right.
And let me change, you know, the value that I put in myself. And I need to recognize this conflict is going to, if navigated positively, lead me to a much better resolution.
Yes.
You know, than if I'm doing all of these things for a quick payoff.
Yeah.
And then, you know, man, the end result is probably going to be I'm going to be alone and sad. Because of how I acted, you know, with these individuals. What is the first step in conflict?
Well, the first step that we've determined is that we have to identify the problem. Okay? So, in terms of us really getting to an understanding, so we got a definition of problem. A problem is defined as a matter or situation regarded as unwelcome or harmful.
Unwelcomed or harmful. And see that for me, with those two, sometimes we view the unwelcome as harmful when it's not always that.
It's not that.
You know, if you're telling me, hey, bro, you know, you need to read a few more books if you want to grow, or maybe you need to stop hanging out, you know, with these people. A lot of times that advice to me is going to be unwelcome.
It's unwelcome.
And now it's harmful to, you know, my simple state, you know, of being.
Yes.
But you're wanting me to be elite. You're wanting me to rise to a new level of being, but I really have no desire to get there.
Right.
And now we are in conflict because you have challenged, you know, my self state of awareness, trying to raise me up. And then it goes back to, well, at what point in time do I allow agitation to help me grow?
That's right.
How do I become self-aware in realizing that, these problems need to be solved?
Mm-hmm.
These things, I at least need to take a look at them.
Mm-hmm.
I at least need to, be adult enough to take a step back and say, are these things really serving the purpose, adding to the value that they should be, or am I just doing this because I want to stay average?
I want to stay average. And I think that's the lens we got to look at it from. It becomes a problem when it takes away from my value.
Mm-hmm.
Versus just, like we said, it's a problem because I have an emotional response to it. No, it's a problem when it takes away from our value, when it takes away from what we deem worthwhile and worthy. Then it should be a problem.
You're right. I feel like, and sometimes maybe it's, I don't want to, ruffle any feathers. I don't want to step on any toes. So when this conflict does arise, I just, okay, it's all right.
Mm-hmm.
It's, do whatever you want to do.
Yeah, we get real sheepish in that. Okay, so just for the sake of understanding and for the conversation, let's define conflict. Conflict is defined as a serious disagreement or argument.
Serious disagreement or argument.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like in that it is always both of those words, serious disagreement or argument, that they always carry a negative, or is that just what we place on them because that's what society's taught us?
We place the negative on those things.
Okay.
Because you can have, a serious disagreement, and you can have a serious argument that is not necessarily negative.
True.
It's just that, hey, this issue is present, and we have to deal with it. We have to take care of it. I shouldn't place an emotion, a negative thought or into it just because it is serious. That does not give me the right or that passageway to do so.
Very, very true. Now, in dealing with some of the stages of conflict, so it being a serious disagreement or argument. So let's say it's something of we're in business together and you feel like we should get on this platform. And I'm like, no, I'm totally against it. Right? I have no want or desire. Well, what are some of the different, what are in that disagreement, what are the stages that we may go through to then move on to the next step?
Okay, so there are 5 stages, okay? So the first being latent conflict. The second is perceived conflict, where the majority of us stay, okay? The third is felt conflict. Number 4 is manifest conflict. And number 5 being conflict aftermath. Okay.
Cool. So that their perceived conflict, is that more something of a point where I feel like you and I have a problem, but I never go to addressing it. I never go to moving past.
Yes.
Hey, we talked about getting on this platform the other day, and now we haven't talked about it again. I don't want to revisit that again.
Right.
So how do we move past that perceived conflict and not be afraid to go to the next step?
Well, just understanding that our perception isn't always the fact or the truth. How we perceive things often through a lens of what we've experienced and what we've been through. And so we cannot place, what we've been through on another individual. We have to actually take into account what they're actually saying versus using what we've been through to understand what they're trying to convey.
So fear keeps us from fear of either past, aggressions that I may have had or aggression showed to me when conflict was brought about because I was dealing with an individual who didn't know how to, effectively, get across their point without lashing out. So now that fear keeps me bound in never wanting to bring about, you know, or get into conflict again. Well, I'm going to digress just for a moment that a lot of times there are many people that love to say a whole lot.
Yes.
They love to talk a whole lot. They love to press and agitate. But then when conflict actually arises, when we move past that stage of perceived conflict, and I'm not talking about, you know, somebody getting beat up in the street.
No.
You know, but then when somebody actually brings something to you, it's like, okay, well, let's sit down and talk about this. Oh, no, I don't want to talk about it. Oh, no, let's not go there. Oh, don't match my energy.
Right.
Even though just a couple minutes ago you was all types of mothers and blankety blank blanks and raggedy this and that.
Yes.
But now when it's just okay, let's talk about this, big dog.
And that's that manifest conflict. Like now it is here, it's present. We've manifested. We've gone from the perceived and we've had the discourse, the exchange of language. So now we both have felt the particular conflicts, and so now, hey, we're going to come and we're actually going to manifest this thing. Here's what's present. Now, what are we going to do about it? Like you said, most people, they don't want any part of that.
They, you know, the young kids say they don't want the smoke. They don't want the smoke.
They don't want any of that.
You know, and if you're one of those people, family, who doesn't like conflict, don't agitate other people, please. Don't go around poking the bear. Don't go around trying to compromise people's values and principles if you don't like people bringing, again, as the young crowd says, the smoke to you. If you don't like that, if you don't like being yelled at, if you don't like being talked to, you know, in a certain manner, well, we should probably make sure that we all keep a certain level of respect.
I agree, but it's also to the end of, okay, it is a serious argument or disagreement. Like you said, you poke the bear, you're going to get a response. It's going to be serious. And the majority of the time, individuals can't handle that particular response. What do you say? Because you're going to get the unleashing of, you know, the emotions and the thoughts and all of that. And you think, oh my gosh, I can't believe that you did that.
I think it goes to, and this is something, you know, we all probably learned this in our early days of science, that energy's never lost nor destroyed. Transferred from one body to the next. Is that correct in the stating of the law? So if I am constantly giving off an energy of conflict and war, well,
it's going to be met.
It's going to come back to me.
Be met.
And then again, I'd want to go hide behind the building when somebody's ready to go to war with me. In whatever manner, you know, that I presented it. Now it's, oh no, please don't treat me like this.
That's right.
Please be nice to me. But so often, you know, I think one thing, you know, with conflict is there were many chances to not even get there in the first place.
That's right.
For peaceful resolutions to be brought. Long before we got to, as you described, the manifest part of conflict. But no. I didn't want that.
No, because the actual thing about it is, you know, we'll see it on TV and how they do it, and it's like, yeah, okay, that's how I'm gonna get down. We forget that's a controlled environment. It is a show. In real life, we're in an uncontrolled environment when it comes to dealing with the conflict between you and another individual.
Yeah, these cats didn't grow on Jerry Springer. When Jerry would bring out, you know, somebody's sister, cousin, mama who was sleeping with the boyfriend, and it was Tom and Jerry. It was hands on sight. That's how they dealt with conflict back in them days. That's not Jerry Springer ain't good TV, y'all. Y'all don't be googling Jerry and watch it just to see some good fights. Even though I don't know why we was watching that at 10, 12 years. Our whole generation messed up on Jerry Springer. Watching people get in fights because they were sleeping with the whole trailer park.
I think it was another form of WWE. That's why
you're right.
That's why we liked it. Like, that's right. Take the chair.
Oh man,
throw it.
Just come out just slapping everybody, and then they want to sit down and talk. But I do think, you know, wish they were there just for a moment. You know, that was that manifest conflict. But then when you know Steve and them would get up there and restrain everybody, and they'd get them to their seats.
Step 5.
And they would. So what is step 5 of the?
That is the conflict aftermath.
Okay.
This is taken into account. Like, we've had the discussion, we've had the, you know, responses, whether you feel they're good or bad. Because I feel like the expression of said energies is always good.
You've got to get out.
Right, it has to get out. So we're dealing with that, and the aftermath is, okay, which is going to move us to the next point, is going to be from solution to resolution.
Okay.
Okay? So we define solution as an answer to solve a problem. So we understand that the first step was to identify the problem, right? To understand that, yeah, we do have a conflict. And thirdly, that the solution is to answer to solve a problem. Okay? And so where we get into trouble.
So what is the in solution? What does that bring to conflict?
Well, it brings us one step closer to actually having a resolution. So most people will stop with the solution. Okay. So solution defined as an answer to solve a problem, whereas resolution is a firm decision to take action. So in the words of Aaliyah, we need a resolution.
Very, very true. Now, is it that in the two, do I feel like because maybe I've reached a solution that the conflict will, then dissolve and then it's over?
Yeah, that feeling is often there many times. Like, okay, the solution is going to be this. Okay, great.
And then that's it.
And that's it.
What happens when we don't move from the solution step to resolution?
Then many times, whatever this particular conflict and problem is, it's just going to still be there. And it's going to fester, and it's going to continue to grow and come back around in a different way, different manner.
And so, as you said, with conflict being that serious disagreement or serious discussion and disagreement, is that because normally, okay, so we come up with the solution, but now because those steps may not be easy. Right. Because those things may, obviously they're going to require something of both parties, probably something, we weren't willing to do, which is, would you say, what brought this conflict about? And now because I actually have to take action into, okay, man, we need to get on this platform. Well, now I have to do, research into XYZ for doing this. I have to go out and talk to, X amount of people, and that's my part. And maybe that's what I was struggling with, in the start, because I'm an introvert. I don't want to talk to folks. Yeah. It's not what I want to do. But to bring, like you said, actual resolution, I have to step outside of myself and do things that are for the greater good of the whole.
For sure. For sure.
And that's why I can become stagnant and, we have a, we have a solution, and that's just where we need to leave it.
Yep. And going through and looking at it, man, I was able to see, oh, man, many times, Jay, you stuck on solution. Let's move to make sure we're moving from, solution to resolution. A firm decision to go ahead and take the action. Because a lot of times once we make that firm decision, we're actually going to follow through. When we make a decision for ourselves, we're going to actually do it. And like you said, it's for the betterment of the greater good. So whatever I need to do, it's not just for me. And I think that's just coming along, which as you come full circle as a man, you're understanding that, hey, man, I need to do some things that I may not be comfortable with for the better good of everyone who's connected to me. But it's an ongoing battle. And people, and that's the work part of it, right? That's the work part of it, because it's a continual battle, day in, day out.
Right. We'll stay with, just, as we, mature and matriculate through this thing called life as men, and bringing, a part of the resolution to, getting a new point in manhood. Is it, now I have to learn how to control my emotions. Yes. So even if I'm met with somebody bringing me an act of violence or war, even in, my family or my home, I don't just choke everybody out.
That's right. That's right.
Like you said before, it's that WWE where it's, I'm Undertaker throwing people off Hell in the Cell.
Pretty much. Because they understand, like you said, the energy is going to match energy. And as I'm, going from navigating from, being a young adult to a grown man in my young adulthood, listen, I'm on top of the cage. And I'm jumping off that joint. You want it, we're going to give it to you.
Right.
Exactly how you want it. Right? But as I go, and I move from solution to resolution, then I'm going to actually study, the art of war. And so understand, it's just not about going to war.
Right.
It's about the intricacies that actually are a part of
the battles inside of the war.
Is that, in that, in because I have to go to war, like you said, there are many battles in this, and there are some battles that aren't worth winning.
Right.
And for men, we want to win every fight. We want to win every battle. We want to win every situation. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Mm-hmm. But as we grow, as we mature, we have to understand that sometimes to win the war, you got to give this up.
Right. So just understanding, like in the book, Sun Tzu was talking about, as you become a good general, you understand that, hey, every now and again I'm going to have to lose a battle here and there, but the purpose of me losing that battle is to actually gain ground.
Right.
Right. So if I go ahead and lose this one, I give you a false sense of confidence. So that moving forward, as I move one regiment from where you can actually see to where they are not, I have you advancing on me, and you think, okay, I've won, but what you've done is set yourself up. You're giving yourself a false sense of security, because behind you, as you turn about, right, to move forward or go back to your camp, I already have a group on this other side that's already taken out your camp, and now you're encompassed round about.
And there is no escape.
There is no escape.
That's when we move from playing checkers to playing chess.
Definitely.
And understanding these many pieces all have different assignments. They can move in different ways and different manners. Rooks can be used to protect kings in certain ways.
Yes.
We have powerful pieces. The queen on the chessboard can do just about anything.
That's right.
But then you got to understand, when you lose your queen, that's woo.
Yeah.
You've lost a very powerful piece.
Yes.
And as men, to do this in conflict in relationships, we don't understand that there are some battles you need to lose.
Yes.
And sure, I'll wash the dishes.
Yep.
Sure, I'll do the laundry, because we just it's just not something that we all grew up doing.
That's right.
Now I know for us, that's something we were taught to do. But then many times that I think we get this, whether it's you get it from watching movies or shows, because I'm the man, I don't need to do these things in my house.
Oh man.
I don't need to in the house that I live in,
right,
the one that I will also dirty up.
Right.
Right. I don't need to do some of these things, and then we end up losing the queen of the chessboard.
That's the worst thing ever, right? To have that particular ideology, to say, because I am, a man of the man, then I don't need to do those things. No, because you are a man, all the work belongs to you. All of it belongs to you.
I don't want to hear that.
No, you don't want to hear it, but these are the facts, and here's the reality. All the work belongs to you. So if you're fortunate enough to actually have a queen, then this queen is here to help you, not to do the work for you, but she's here to help you. So you being the responsible one, king, you must set the tone of work. You establish what it is and how your quote-unquote kingdom is going to operate. That's upon you. And again, it comes full circle. That is, what exactly do you value? Do you value work? Because if you don't, then you have a atmosphere of laziness that is just entrenched in your kingdom. That's a problem. And so that is a problem.
And so now it's, lazy from the king on down.
Right.
Now when your kid is lazy, you tossing them out the bed.
Now you upset.
Right.
But you didn't get upset with yourself because you didn't get up and rule your day. You fallen into the, I'm going to be like everyone else, and you really can't do that. Why? Because as the king, then you have to study the art of war. One of the things that, we get away from is that, what general do you know that's ever been successful did a whole lot of sleeping? Did a whole lot of chilling?
None that I've ever heard of.
Right? Because
none that I've heard of.
Because you're busy. They were busy actually studying their particular opponent. They're studying the terrain. That's why I do wholeheartedly believe every man needs to read this book, The Art of War.
I think, but For me, I feel what happens again is because, we often hear about, you have that picture and it says, it's like the iceberg success, and you see just that small part. But then underneath it, you don't see all the other steps that needed to be taken.
Right.
To get there.
Right.
So we'll see, these successful CEOs or successful athletes or, or actors or anybody that's successful in their craft, but we don't see the countless hours that they took, missing sleep. Not, as E.T. says, are you willing to miss some food?
Yeah, you should.
Are you willing to not eat?
You should.
Because you're so hungry, these things have to be accomplished and have to get done that you won't eat for a few days.
Right. It's kind of like what we said before. Like we don't have, as you embrace and grow in your manhood, being comfortable is not good for you. And I'm not talking about not having a nice house or,
Right.
I'm talking about the mental state of, okay, yeah, I can sit back now and
Rest on my laurels.
Rest on my laurels. No, that's not good. You were designed mentally to always be working and working in the sense of what's challenging you.
That's because, you got to stop being a fan.
Yes.
At some point.
Yes.
And, as we're both, fans of the sport of football, whether you like Tom Brady or not, as you grow and you actually begin to study this individual and you hear about his competitive nature and the study that people like him, Peyton Manning, put into being the greatest at their craft.
Yes.
Then again, you take it to people outside the realm of sports, from these artists who they don't just pick up a guitar,
right,
and okay, they've hit a couple strings and they found out they're good, and now the only time they pick it up is when they're on stage again.
Right, no.
Or these CEOs that they've figured out how to, make good business, and the only time they do business is when it's time to go to the meeting.
Right, no.
But they're constantly perfecting their craft. They're constantly doing certain things to make sure they stay on their A game. They're still studying other people.
Right.
Even some people that may not be on their level because they never want to miss.
Right.
Is there a new way of doing it? Is there a better way of doing it?
Man, I read that, Warren Buffett, when he starts he's reading 6 hours a day. And they asked him, well, what exactly are you reading about? Stock market.
But I ain't got 6 minutes.
Right? He's reading about finances and, there's no wonder that he's been able to grow his particular finance, and his wealth of knowledge is such because of the time he puts in, right, in the study of finance, wealth. It's not by luck or coincidence.
Before we get out of here, Jesse, let me ask you this. So going into that, with luck, coincidence, in conflict, when we move from all the stages down to solution to resolution, is that when the next conflict starts? If we're dealing with it from an internal sense.
From an internal sense, I believe so. Because a lot of times we have not come to a resolution between ourselves and the Creator. So that makes it many times it difficult for us to internally be at peace. So we're not taking the correct action steps to maintain our particular peace internally. So because of that, we have this cycle, right, that we continue to go through. Those same 4 steps we continue to go through because we allow an external source or sources to come in and disrupt the resolution that we've made.
I agree, and for me, family, the thing that I really want to leave you guys with is sometimes don't be afraid of conflict.
Right.
Whether it is internal or external, because sometimes there's going to be some conflict with yourself that's going to cause you to grow and be better. Whether it's I need to challenge myself by reading, a new book.
Yes.
By reading something or listening to something outside of my comfort zone. I might need to go some places outside of my comfort zone or my norm to do better networking.
Yes.
And then when I get there, the goal is not just to get there and be a fly in the corner, but to actually meet and talk amongst the people that are there.
That's right.
And then when it comes to conflict with some others, there are some things and some ways people are treating you or that you're treating them that you need to call into question.
That's right.
That you need to, bring that conflict to them. And obviously, hopefully, you can do it in a peaceful manner.
Respectful.
But if you can't, Respectful, probably the better word. But if you cannot, you just need to go ahead and hash that thing on out so that you can get to that resolution step and see, does this still need to be?
Right.
Does it not need to be? Do we need to restructure our agreement of how we're going to deal with each other?
Yeah.
Let's not be afraid of conflict, but let's use it as a tool to then win the war.
Good word.
Man, family, we sure appreciate you guys for tuning in with us this morning. Make sure you guys go ahead, like, follow, and subscribe to our YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Follow us also on Apple Podcast and Spotify. You guys have a great day. We'll talk to you later.